Welcome to Check In to Check Out, the e-commerce growth podcast for mobile first. My name is Justin Ehrenstein and my co-host is Connor Burke. Welcome to Check In to Check Out. My name is Justin Ehrenstein. Alongside me, I got Connor Burke. This week, our guest is Grace Edinger. Grace, what's your role right now?
So I am the director of Ecommerce Product Management at Stanley Black Decker. We own iconic brands like DeWalt and Craftsman, of course, Stanley and Black Decker, power tools.
Nice. So in that role, what's your team look like? What's that?
Yeah. So I've been with Stanley Black Decker 4.5 years, and I really joined to help build out direct-to-consumer e-commerce. My background is mostly in direct-to-consumer e-commerce, and I worked actually at L'Oreal selling beauty products before I came to power tools. It's kind of a unusual trajectory. But after I had joined, everyone said kind of, oh, we're not totally sure we're ready to do direct-to-consumer e-commerce because we're really a manufacturer and we have a wholesale business.
Depot,
exactly. And we also own Cub Cadet lawnmowers. So we have a big dealer network and independent retail network of distributors and dealers who also sell our products in addition to the big box stores. So it's been a evolution over the last 4.5 years of does the company really need? What does direct-to-consumer e-commerce look at a company like Stanley Black Decker? And it's been part of my job to help figure that out and pockets where we are experimenting with direct. What does that look like? And is it different than what you would traditionally have, where you would just have a website and ship products to customers?
So you do experimentation and have a team for that, or is it?
No, we don't. I would say we want to get to a point where we are more focused on UX experimentation. I would say we are at the point right now where we are building a foundation. It is really interesting too, coming to beauty, which is so much more mature in the space. They know how to talk to their end users, right? Their customers in the digital space, whether that's on TikTok or their websites or through email. They know how to do that because that's where their customers expect them to be. Our end users, when we say when Stanley Black Decker says customers, we're talking about Lowe's and Home Depot. So we have to it's a real shift to change to talking about your end users. And when you say a customer, who are you really talking about? So if I'm muddling that, that's why. But our end users are going in and chatting with their guys at Home Depot or chatting with their distributors or their pros, their contractors who are buying all their stuff for their projects that they're hired to do. And those are completely different use cases than somebody scrolling on TikTok and wanting to buy a lip gloss. And that's part of the reason too why I was intrigued to come to Stanley Black Decker, because it's different problems to solve. I work in product management. I want to find those technological solutions for our business problems, right? It's totally different business models and different customer kind of journey that we have to solve for.
There was something somebody said earlier today that was you fall in love with the problem. I think it's
fall in love with the problem, not the solution.
Yeah.
Totally.
So what?
Actually,
who do you interface with on a daily basis?
Sure. I have business stakeholders.
Yeah.
So the brands of e-commerce at the brands, they have certain things that they're trying to push for from their brand strategy. And so it's, hey, I need this thing. Can you build it for me? Huge part of my job is to say, do you really need this? What is the impact that this is going to have on the business? Because I think brands tend to ask for a lot of stuff without really being able to back it up with the data of why they need it. And that's a big part of my job is to say, okay, I know you would like this. Is it the right thing for the customer? Do we have the data to back that up, whether it's doing competitive research or looking at I had a request this week to add a question, a first party data question while you're creating an account on your website. Is that really the best thing for the customer, or is it just the best thing for the company because we're trying to collect the data? So those are that's a big piece of what I do, is to ask those questions and make sure we're spending our
time. Do you feel like that's maybe the biggest struggle in your job? or maybe the hardest part of it, or is it?
That's one of them. Although I actually I don't find that a struggle so much
Okay.
because you have the data to back you up and you just
Exactly.
like,
Yes.
that's the
Yeah.
job, you know? I think the struggle is maybe once you decide what you're going to build, getting everybody all on the same page, figure out the how of how we're going to build it. And especially in a huge organization like Stanley Black Decker, this was true at L'Oreal also. There are like these very matrixed organizations, global organizations where everybody has different goals that they're trying to accomplish. And then you prioritize that. You got to get, the dev team, the design team, the creative team, the brands teams, the market team, all on the same page, prioritize all of that work, and then actually make sure it gets done for whatever brand activation is happening at a given time.
Yeah. I asked that because one of the questions that we're always, or the thing that we're interested in when we talk to people in the industry is like, what is it that you dread the most? Because I think a lot of people, we get some interesting answers, but just like, there's so many different aspects of the job that it's fascinating to me to see like, what is it exactly that people struggle with or don't look forward to? What is their point of friction in their job?
Being stalled with like no way to move.
Yeah.
And are
Having
you
something
stalled for political reasons?
Yeah.
Yeah. Red tape that you
I
just
would say
can't get
more.
past.
And how what we need to do. I know what the priorities are. I've looked at the data, right? Like, this is what our customers need. But then just being like,
so we'd be like, I don't like that. And you're like, but it works.
or this is too big a problem to solve. I have all these other small problems that I can like check off my list. I'm like not willing to engage with you on the like big problem. But those big problems are really where we're going to make the difference in our consumer experience at the end of the day. Solve. That's why no one's solved them yet.
Exactly. Yeah. That's one of the things I've always found, like when we go and work with clients that we come in and there's always like something that I feel like we identify as being not necessarily like an aha moment, but this thing where like, this is what you need to do. And it's almost always the most obvious thing that everyone else is aware of. And they're all like, yeah, good luck. It just never seems to work out. And it's strange to me how every company always has this weird like elephant in the room of they all know what needs to be done, but for some reason everybody's just in this gridlock and they can't do it. So
frustrating.
it's a very pervasive problem, and it is.
Well, and I think it's really meaningful if you can be the person to figure out how to crack through that.
Which is what we always want to be, but it is very hard.
Yeah.
So that's a good answer.
So in your role, what resources do you actually control in this highly matrix?
Yeah. So my role is actually, like I mentioned, we were, I was hired to help build direct to consumer. My role is kind of transitioning and has been over the last 6 months or so. We're building a new digital backbone, like for the organization, for all of our websites, some that have e-commerce and some that don't. And so this is the foundation that we're building there. And I mean, actually worked on a very similar project at L'Oreal where should be a huge unlock. It used to be that, and this was true at L'Oreal, where we had hundreds of websites worldwide, and Lancôme France would build something, and then Lancôme in the US wanted to use the same thing, product finder or whatever feature functionality you want to build, and they pay for it and build it all again. So being able to consolidate everything together so that we're all on the same code base.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, but we launched Craftsman a month and a half ago on this new code base. And we're starting to roll out. And that's my role, is really to understand to build the global roadmap for that backbone, right? So we have new brands coming. There are new requirements for as we onboard new brands. Commerce, for example, we don't have commerce today. As we bring on some of our outdoor brands that have commerce currently, we have those. We have to have commerce capabilities. We need a cart. We need a check.
Totally.
And then, other things as well, like our outdoor business has a huge business in parts. So again, different problems to solve, right? Fitment. Does this part fit on my machine? What parts can fit on my machine? All the different ways that you might want to like access that information.
So how do you decide what features a certain site will build? Do you have like a revenue threshold when some director of e-commerce says, hey, we need this feature that's specific for us, and maybe it can be used across another site, maybe not?
Well, if it can't be used across any other site, like I think the answer is generally no, unless it's like, hey, this one feature is going to, drive $4 million in sales. Then yes, maybe you can have it. But yeah, the revenue. I wouldn't say there's a specific number, and I think the KPI behind it doesn't necessarily have to be revenue, right? It could be engagement.
Sure.
There could be other things, especially for a company that primarily doesn't sell direct to consumer, and so revenue has its own kind of place in that. But I think that one of my big goals is to try to build things that are going to benefit the ecosystem as a whole. So for fitment, for example, we do this today on our outdoor sites, Cub Cadet, Troy built, but we have a separate website. And this is one of the things at a company like Stanley Black Decker. I mean, the amount of domains is just insane. It's been around for years. We're maintaining service on one website and B2B over here and B2C over there. And somebody sent me a website yesterday. There's a lawnmower shoe that they were like, shoe design. You can't buy it from the website, but there's like a subdomain that has like a lawnmower shoe. While you're sitting on your ride on special
walk
shoe
through the
for
grass,
that.
That would be
I mean, it's another product.
We'll copyright that. Out only.
Anyway, so some of it is to say, like, we have this service website where all of this fitment stuff is happening today for our tools versus our outdoor business, right? Which is happening on our brand.com website. If we build fitment capabilities into our global digital backbone, then can we put some of that service stuff that exists today that into the digital backbone and maintain it all in one place, try to consolidate. And so that's a huge part of the goal. It's like, how do we lay that foundation so that we have to spend less development resources, product resources on maintaining things in all these different places? Tech debt alone. Keeping stuff clean, keeping stuff modern, and then we can focus on like, okay, what are the next needs that our businesses have, that our business stakeholder needs to try and like move things forward.
I love that. So it sounds like a lot of your specific customers, like these business owners and directors of e-commerce. What is your process? And so you're talking sometimes to an internal team to empower them. What's your process of finding insights of like, hey, this is what we need to build, or this is what our roadmap's going to look like?
I mean, it comes from a lot of different conversations with our business stakeholders, right? Some of it is driven by the strat plan. We are putting QR codes on our Cadet lawnmower boxes. We need this to lead to a post-purchase hub on the website where you're going to be able to access your manual and videos about how to, et cetera. Like, great idea. Cool. Let's do it. Also, this is a brand initiative, so you kind of have to. Then I think like customer support reviews, like there are all of these places where there are especially in the tool space, like there is so much good stuff there about like the pain points that our end users have with these specific brands. Some of it is stuff that we know that's a problem. We're like not totally sure how to fix it. But, then we know about it. It's on the roadmap somewhere. We're going to figure out in the backlog, we'll figure out how to get to it once we have the capacity to do so. And then analytics also, right? We look at, where people are spending time. That's always the question I ask of like, we want to optimize this page. Okay. How many people are actually going to that page? How much revenue is that driving? And then on this the new backbone that we're building, it's going to be not just talking to the brand stakeholders about what they're doing from the brand, but it will support different markets. So it's talking to your different markets, and you're talking to the cross-functional teams, so including customer support, CRM. Everybody has different goals. Merchandising, product information is a huge opportunity. Again, one of these like beasts of a problem to say, we want to make the product information do this on the front end. We want to be able to choose this bit by length. I don't know that much about tools. But length, pack size. There's some other really technical stuff that I don't totally understand. But I know that other people do understand it, and it's important to them, right? But the product information is organized in a way where we can really make that front end. I could build the front end experience, but nothing will feed into it in the way that we want it to make it possible for the customer.
Yeah.
How many differences do you want to support, or do you think is necessary to support by market? So for example, your NA market versus your LATAM versus how do you
As few as possible.
But what's necessary?
Yeah, it's a good question. So our kind of motto as we build this foundation is no special snowflakes.
Okay.
And this was something we talked about a lot at L'Oreal too. I mean, I actually think you have more people asking for specific, very special things per brand.
Yes.
Because this is just how you are as a brand.
Yes.
Your brand is so special.
It's
like
unique
it has to be.
And no other tool company has had to solve this exact problem.
Exactly.
Before.
And you have come up with like product finder that like is so different from any other product finder that has ever existed. And like, in fact, no. Like, in fact, like it is very similar to every other product finder that has existed. There might be tiny tweaks.
Totally.
And so my goal, again, let's build something that is going to benefit the ecosystem, but build it in a way that is flexible and configurable so it can support the needs of multiple markets, right? So that we don't have to build something that is like slightly similar, but a little bit different. And a big piece of that too is just like taking in as much information as possible in order to help like build out what that roadmap looks like so that we don't, LATAM doesn't come to us later and say, I needed that, but like a little. And this is something that we're like building too is like, what are the meetings you need to go out and say, I'm building this. Give me your feedback of like, does this work for your market, for your brand? If I tweaked it a little bit, like tell me that information.
Totally.
And maybe they're going to say, you have to tweak this so much for it to work for me. But that's my job then to say, okay, I understand you need a big tweak, but like, in fact, I think that if I make this small change, it will meet your needs 80% of them.
And if anything, Shopify over the past 5-10 years has taught us that a single unified shopping experience is probably better than your novelty experience.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, like part of the reason that I like was interested to go to Stanley Black Decker, where there are different problems to solve, is like e-commerce in and of itself is like pretty straightforward. Especially, I worked in fashion before I was at L'Oreal, but like fashion, beauty, like you send a beautiful picture, like evocative picture of like someone really cool wearing clothes that like speaks to your customers in a certain way. And like people want to buy that.
Right.
I think when you are trying to create an experience for a contractor who is trying to get, thousands of different products to support him on a site, he has really different needs.
Yeah. I just put Harry Styles in a drill and
Right. I mean, it may work for some people.
Right, sure. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the customers. Yeah, that might work.
But I think, so this is something that we've rolled out for our outdoor business that I think is really unique to, it's dropship. It's not like super unique.
Okay.
But it is a way to support both our custom end users and our dealer network in that when we take orders on CupCadet.com, we send those orders to our dealer network so that they can do a white glove delivery to customers who are within a certain radius of where they are. If you don't have white glove delivery, your lawnmower is going to get dropped in a crate at the end of your driveway and you're going to have to figure it out on your own. So it is supporting our dealer network by sending them business, giving them an opportunity to create relationships with customers who might need to come in to install an accessory or to get service, right? And those are other areas that we want to expand in the future. But to me, that model is like what we should build to support direct to consumer at a company like Stanley Black Decker to use our capabilities from a development e-commerce website point of view to support our distributors who are not going to have that capability. We'll make it easier. It's so much easier to and especially younger people don't want to go into a store. They want to go online. They don't want to talk to anyone, depending what you're buying, right? But that contractor could put their list together and not have to, go in necessarily. Maybe they want, maybe they do, but we need to those different experiences for each person's unique situation of how they want to shop.
Do you see a shift in that with that generation, I guess millennials and Gen Z kind of moving in? Do you see them being less hands-on, less, wanting to do things more digital?
I keep seeing mixed things about this because apparently stores are also back. Gen Z likes to stop in stores. I don't know. I can't keep up. They don't want to talk to human beings, but they want to shop in actual stores.
Right. Yeah.
It's something that comes up a lot of the younger consumers have different needs from a digital perspective and they need to modernize for them. I don't think we've cracked it yet.
Yeah.
But again, like the industry as a whole is a little behind in terms of digitization and like digital transformation.
I mean, and also, I mean, I just know this because I'm working on my house now, and we see a problem. The contractor says, "I'm going to run to Home Depot and go fix it." Like that's just his thing. He has his account at Home Depot, and he's just like, "I'm going to go run to Home Depot." Could he pull it up on the site? Sure, but that's just what he's done.
Right, totally.
They drive from shop to from job to job, and see what's the problem is. Great, this job.
I mean, and we love Home Depot.
Yeah.
Like Home Depot does a huge amount of business for us. Like we also want to support Home Depot in that. What we do on our sites is right now, most of our sites drive traffic to retail.
Totally.
So if we have like a where to buy button, and you can choose if you want to shop at Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace or wherever it is.
It's interesting. I actually did apartment maintenance when I was in college for a while, and going to Home Depot was like my way of getting out of work for the day. So I'm curious if there is a shift, because I imagine that will always be the case.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because you just basically you roll something up and then you're like, I'm gonna have to go get a part. And then you go to Guitar Center and jam around for a bit, hop on over to Home Depot, grab the part, and you come back and say there's a line. And that was almost every day. So I'm kind of curious, like there's got to be so many I don't know how to describe it, but just very strange intricacies with the model that you're working with. And
I mean, it is. It's super complex. There's lots of different people who want to shop in lots of different ways. And so how can we meet the needs of all of those different folks?
I love it. So shifting gears a little, it sounds like you're, at least right now, working a little more on the infrastructure, empowering other teams. Do you have any fires that you have to fight where you're not building towards the longer term thing, but you're having to fight a fire?
You know, I've specifically kind of gotten into this role so that I did not have to do the like typical director of e-commerce like firefighting. I started out where I was working on actual websites, helping to support from a customer experience perspective, like an actual a director of e-commerce who had a P&L to meet and to drive sales. And I did not like that piece. The like having to fight fires, somebody freaking out, especially, I mean, then sometimes it would be like, the website's down. People can't place an order, right? Which is like it's the worst. You got to fix it. But, you know, I would say 50% of the time it was also like the padding is wrong on the homepage. The color isn't. And I don't care. I know that this is so important to some people. Like it is, if you have a strong opinion about that, like go for it. Like have that argument, fight that fight. Like ultimately, that image on the like homepage is probably not going to make or break whether the consumer purchases or in an email, right? Like that color or that padding or whatever it is. So I think I took kind of a circuitous route to getting into like product.
Yeah.
But it was deliberate in trying to do more of the things that I like, which are create really exciting, seamless, pleasant, delightful experience for our users. And not have to focus so much on the things that I don't really care about, because people who do care about them should care about them, and they should like do whatever they need to do to feel like they are fulfilled at the end of the day by what they're trying to accomplish there.
So you work on like a lot of like digital transformation, large infrastructure. Probably takes years to see your work come to fruition. Is that frustrating? Is that enjoyable?
I like it. I like having like a really big picture to drive toward and being able to like put the blocks together. And like, it's really satisfying to me to like have that vision of where we're going, even if it's going to take a while to get there. It's like so much harder for me when there's not a destination. And it's like, here are the 7 things we're going to do this year that don't tie into a larger strategy or don't tie into like a bigger idea of what we want commerce to be at Stanley Black Decker or what we're thinking about. So having this kind of like large vision, which is, you know, right now, build our foundation, build a feature roadmap, move sites onto the foundation, because without sites on it, who cares? But like we're thinking bigger too beyond that, right? Like what does service look like? It's happening somewhere else right now. Like what does B2B look like? Probably B2B will stay its own thing, but like how does that interact with us? And like in a company where so much of the business is about the professional, like that's a part of B2B in and of itself. And like how does that interact? Maybe they're not shopping on our websites, but they're going to interact with our websites in some way, whether that's product research or something else. So then how do we build those journeys and make sure that like at the end of, there's probably no end, but like at the end of where we're going in 5 years and 10 years, we are meeting as many needs as we can, even if those needs change along the way.
Can you give us any insight into what the infrastructure looks like?
Yeah, I mean, it's a headless Drupal website. So we use services to support product registration, product information, and product data. Not product. So product data and customer data as well. A universal user profile. So those are kind of the front end is then like a design system that we lay the skin over the top of it for each of the brands, but it's component based. And so you have all these components that in theory, every brand should be able to flexible and configurable, put together what they need when they need to build a content page, when they need to build a form to collect data, like any of those things. And it's really about trying to put ownership onto the brands in the markets to have what they want on their website versus it being controlled at a central level, which is where it has been done before. And then where I really want to get to is how can we then build an experimentation platform on top of that so that we're testing and learning? And then what is that feedback loop of, hey, we tested this on this brand. It really worked. Let's make sure we're rolling it out across all.
Well, that was going to be my question. So these tests, if could be small incremental ones, but I assume you're going to want to test bigger things because if you get a small win, we'll say on one site in LATAM, let's say Black & Decker LATAM, are you going to allow them to make that small change or how do you take that into account?
Mostly it will depend what the change is, right? If it's a content change, then it's market by market.
Sure.
But like a global change, like, yeah, we might make it at the main level. But I also think those open lines of communication about like, we learned this thing, we're going to do this for you to benefit you, like those kinds of things. I mean, and we actually built this at L'Oreal. We had a really lovely like feedback loop of brands sharing with each other different tests that they were running, especially from a content perspective where a brand has more ownership of it. We'd get together, I can't remember, I think it was monthly. You know, we ran these tests, we learned this information. Other people would be like, oh, what a great idea, or oh, that reminds me of this test maybe I can do. So like,
what a fun meeting. Building
that like community and like being able to toss around ideas and like share what you're learning is so fun. I mean, that's the beauty of it, right? Is like, I mean, that's what I love about my job is taking in all these perspectives and then figuring out where we go from there.
I love it. Have you had any failures at Black & Decker?
I don't think I've had any failures at Black & Decker except for
I want to be you. I am like, no.
Well, maybe the fact that I like was hired to do a job that ended up not existing.
I've been there too.
I think that like, and again, like the part of that is the position that I've placed myself in, right? I mean, to like be in a role where a lot of it is connecting people and understanding what needs to get done and then helping to facilitate what is getting done, right? I mean, I suppose if I built the wrong thing, that would be a failure.
You won't find out for a couple of years.
Right. That'll be long.
What have you learned working with directors of e-commerce and supporting them and building tools for them to do their job?
Yeah. I think that we talked about this a little bit of like everyone wants something that they think is really special to themselves. And I think I have learned that mostly what you want is not so special to yourself. But I think like it is a conversation with them and building those lines of communication and like really understanding why they want a particular thing to be able to say, I can't give you this, but maybe we can do it with this other thing. I think that saying no is a big piece of something that I have had to learn. Like,
you should say that with a little more confidence.
Yes. It is, but you try and say it in a subtle understanding.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
And so they don't feel like they have been completely denied. They feel like they've been heard and understood. And then, they still don't get the thing that they asked for at the end of the day.
All we want as humans is to be seen, heard, and understood.
Absolutely.
What do you admire about the director of e-commerce?
I think that, like, it's a hard job, especially in a huge company like a L'Oreal or a Stanley Black & Decker. Like, you seems like you should have a ton of resources.
They never do.
You have people like me saying, well, I'm not going to give you this thing that you asked for. I ultimately have control over what gets built. Right? And I think like the passion and excitement of like when you are making those numbers, I will never forget our first $1 million day on Heels. I was at a conference, and I don't remember now what one, but I was like in Las Vegas at a conference, and I saw the guy who ran our 3PL like multiple times over the course of the day, and he would just be like, "Hi," like this is like crazy, but the excitement and like adrenaline from being able to like really make it happen is
because you know that 9 months of like work that
no one is actually planning for 9 months.
Okay, but like the development life cycle.
Yeah.
But, and then the 2 weeks before the promotion. But and all that work that went into it that no one noticed, and you were checking the emails and the promotion codes work, et cetera, and then it finally works.
Yeah.
This is absolutely amazing. What is something that you wish like your executive team knew about your job that they don't?
I mean, I would say my entire job, I am constantly trying to have to explain to people like what product management is, why this role is important. So executive team, everyone I work with. And it's actually something that is really like, there's a lot of interest in, I think, right now in terms of like digital transformation and how do we move from a more project-based model to a product-based model. But like, it's been a huge part of my role in my last 2 companies to evangelize why working this way is better. It's not one conversation, right? It is small conversations along the way. It's examples of, hey, like, we can't build this thing 7 times. Like, if we move to this working this way, or, hey, we in the past, like, we spent resources on this thing that didn't actually impact the business at all. How can we move to thinking about this? And it's not an easy transition. It is a really challenging transition to move from a model where IT takes direction of a brand wants this, and then they just build it, to a let's ask questions and consider this and challenge this. And I give you as IT or product, right, conjunction, the empowerment to say, is this the right thing to build? And so that I think also is a big part of what I am trying to do, is to move from like an execution model to allowing everybody to have a little bit more empowerment and accountability in terms of like, I don't want to spend my time, like, even if it's just a small change, if no one's going to see it, it's even a small change takes time and energy from people who could be working on something that is those big problems that we want to solve, right? Let's stop thinking about the little things that are making no difference and like really spend that time trying to solve these bigger ideas, these bigger problems that people are writing about on Reddit, and we're like, it's too big, we'll get to it later.
And this is the problems that people want to solve too. So there's a morale aspect of that as well.
Absolutely.
You know, if you have them working on stuff that doesn't mean anything and no one really wants to do, you get burnt out. I had a question actually, and I forgot what it was now. So
we'll come back to it. Yes. You said you want to get into experimentation. Is that going to be easy for you? Is the brand, are they ready for, I'm sure the directors of e-commerce say, hey, I want to test this creative, but like real experimentation that changes user behavior. So is that going to be an easy hill for you to climb?
I think there are changes happening in the organization right now that will enable that. We did actually, we didn't test it. We just put it live. We'd made a change, I think, earlier this year for extended warranty. We sell extended warranty on our lawnmowers.
All margin.
It's all margin. I mean,
what a great idea.
It's amazing. Huge business. And it used to be that you would have a pop-up after you added to your cart that said, you've added it to your cart. Do you want it on an extended warranty? This is not rocket science. Like, we stole this from Home Depot and Best Buy and everybody else who does it. It was, so we changed it. It's where you have to accept or decline the protection. We saw a 30% increase in attachment rate. We met the goals, those like high margin goals of what the brand had been trying to do. And so I think examples like that, where a change to your user, like such a small change to the user flow that can like drive the result that you want, are going to help enable, that like we can make real difference. We can drive real dollars from these changes that we make.
Is there anything from that y'all might iterate on, or any plans to?
I mean, we'd love to expand extended warranty to our other brands as well.
So you still need to kind of spread that out.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so it's happening. We have a pretty robust e-commerce business with what we call e-dealer, where we send dropship some of these orders to our e-dealers on Cub Cadet. And I think there's a big opportunity to take a lot of what we've learned from Cub Cadet from a commerce perspective and spread it out where it makes sense to some of the other brands. Even if we're not selling direct, we could still sell extended warranties too, which is interesting. But then you have a bigger question of what's that journey to get your customer there to buy those extended warranties from you?
That's a good answer.
So where do you think the opportunities for you, your team, in the next 6 to 12 months really lie?
I mean, there is a never-ending list of we could do. I mean, we're building this foundation, right? And that is going to take the next, 3 years. We have a lot of, we want to move our other big brands onto it. We want to add commerce. It's nothing but opportunity. And that's a big part of why as the Stanley Black and job at Stanley Black and Decker has kind of mutated and changed while I've been there. The opportunity is just huge. I can't state how big it is, to how much improvement there we could make from what we have today.
And is commerce going to be driven through Drupal, or do you?
So the plan is to do headless commerce.
Headless commerce using what's the
TBD.
back end? Okay. I'm sure you're looking at Salesforce Commerce Clouds
and Shopify.
Yeah.
I mean, we have sites on Salesforce Commerce Cloud and on Shopify today.
Okay.
We have our tool sites on Shopify and our the Salesforce Commerce Cloud sites. We're part of an acquisition, so opportunity, right, to consolidate that.
Totally.
We also have at least 4 ERPs in North America alone.
Whoa. Okay, that's fun to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's because of acquisitions, and
yes.
So now it's your job to bring it all together into a single unified.
I mean, maybe whatever the customer experiences has to be a single unified, right?
Yeah.
It was actually such a joke because the CEO was like, "None of the MTD brands that we bought is complete," and we were all like, "No, it has not started. Nothing is integrated. What are you talking about?"
That's really funny.
Well, I was kind of curious, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead or anything, but if you weren't working with e-commerce directors and weren't in this field, what would you be doing?
Well, so this is also a fun thing as I was walking on my way over here. When I was in college, I worked in the costume shop, sewing the costumes for all of the productions.
Nice.
And that was the most fun job I've ever had.
Is that why you got into fashion?
I mean, I always loved fashion, probably also because my mom taught me how to sew when I was a kid.
Oh, cool.
I always just did that for fun. And then I got this job. The girl who lived in my dorm across the hall from me, also had that job. And she was like, "You should come if you know how to sew, check it out." And we got to make all of these really cool, I built a corset one year. They call it building. So that is part of, I think why I was looking for a job in fashion. And then when I worked at Club Monaco. I was the assistant to the CEO there. And they launched e-commerce in 2012, a little late to the game. But so Club Monaco was owned by Ralph Lauren at the time. And the Ralph Lauren team launched the e-commerce site. And the CEO was like, "Oh no. They don't know our brand. They don't know how to do this. They cannot be running this." And he was like, "We're getting rid of all of them. We're going to build it all in-house," knowing nothing about e-commerce. And I wanted to be a merchant. And he was like, "You go and and you can report back to me on what's going on." So I was an assistant e-commerce merchant, trying to learn merchandising and also with no one who understood how any of the systems worked or talked to each other or anything. And it turned out I actually really liked that piece of it of
Nice.
what is the technology? How is this working? We were on GSI commerce.
Okay, yeah.
Or maybe it was eBay Enterprises at that point.
Oh, wow.
But I this is a cool thing to learn. And that's kind of how I started on the e-commerce side.
Love it.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think is interesting too is I wanted to be a merchant because a merchant's job in fashion is to take the point of view of the business, what sells, and the point of view of the designers, right? What's creative? How are we representing the brands? What is the cool stuff that we're doing? And make sure what you're putting on the shelves is the right balance of all of those things. And I think what I'm doing in product is like actually very similar to that. It's like taking all of the different points of view, then developing the thing at the end of the day that is going to be right for your customer.
It's fascinating. We talked in the past about how there's just really, I haven't met him yet, but no one started out wanting to be an e-commerce director.
Yeah.
They always kind of fall into that. And
Yeah.
so my degree was in screenwriting. I don't know what his was in, but it's
Writing
interesting.
code.
There you go. Yeah.
So-
Okay.
And yeah, no one goes to school for that.
Yeah.
So, kind of wrap up. What are you listening to, reading to stay on top of e-commerce, or maybe you're not? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, so I like on my list of like things that I'm like interested in learning about. We haven't even talked about AI at all.
Some intention.
I almost threw one out there.
Is there something unique perspective do you have on AI?
Yeah, I am like really interested in like AI product management
Okay.
in terms of, I think not because I want to be an AI PM someday. Yeah. This is actually also something that I think is really interesting about being a product manager in this space, because my product is our website, right? And it's so different to be a product manager supporting a digital product that really exists only to sell physical product, something else that is like the physical product. The companies that I have worked for have always been about selling something else, not about selling the actual product. And it changes like what that means. In a software company is everything. Right? They're coming up with the ideas. They're driving the vision of the company. Like that's not what I'm doing. I am figuring out how we can best make the vision of what the physical product is available in the best way to our customers. So I don't think I'm going to be an AI PM anytime, but I am kind of interested in just like what needs to happen to shift this mindset of I want to build something and I'm going to tell you what it is and then you're going to build it and it's going to turn out the way that you want to, right? That like deterministic to a probabilistic of like, I'm going to build something and then I'm going to have to take another look at it and like try it and use it in a bunch of different ways. And like, I'm not going to know what's going to come out at the end of the day. And to me, it's like fascinating because we're all interacting with these things like in some way, shape, or form. We're going to do that more and more, I think. And so there's a guy on LinkedIn who like does all this stuff about like learning to be an AI. Yeah.
What's his name?
Akash Gupta, I think.
Okay.
Send it to you. But I think like kind of learning what's happening in that space, even if it's not something I actually do, will give me a better sense of like how I am interacting. And then when the time comes to help build these kinds of experiences, which like frankly, we're all going to be doing, like anyone who's on the internet in the next 5 years is going to be like interacting with and or building these kinds of things. So getting started on that and like kind of doing these overviews of what that looks like and how it's changing the way that we think and build.
Awesome. And are you building AI into your ecosystem? Is that on the roadmap?
Yes. I mean, we have like there's a lot of initiative coming down of use AI, how are we using AI, what is coming in, which is like, I think kind of silly because using AI in and of itself should not be a KPI that you're trying to measure. I think the big problems, right? The product data, the organization of the product data, the organization of the customer data, like AI cannot fix those things unless you get organized about those things first, or you think specifically about how AI can help you solve those problems. Maybe it can help. I don't know for sure. But I both think AI is coming and it's really cool and we need to figure it out. And I also hate all the talk about AI because it's still ignoring foundational things that we need to change in order to like actually make AI be able to work for us and do the things that we want.
And that's why we saved it for the last possible moment.
I was kind of curious, and you kind of spoke to this a second ago, just about how you're integrating it in, and within the next 5 years, people are going to be using AI a lot more. Do you feel like that's something that y'all might, actually, let me try to phrase it a different way. We're seeing a lot of people try to optimize their sites for AI. In the same way that you might do like SEO for Reddit posts, like we're seeing the same thing. Yes, exactly. Do you feel like that's something that y'all are focused on, or maybe might look into, and then also?
I think we need to look into it.
Gotcha. Okay.
I will share this is like not specifically related to work, but I know someone who's building what's supposed to be a household concierge AI chatbot, and I'm in the alpha for that. And she wants it to eventually be a shop. It will shop for you. Right?
Of course.
I'm going to look at your calendar. I see that you have a birthday party coming up. Like, let me get a gift for you. Your kid is, I have a 7-year-old. Your kid is probably outgrowing all of their clothes. It's fall. Can I buy them a new wardrobe based on the things that I know you've bought for them in the past because I have access to your email? So I was like, oh, this is cool. Like maybe this will go somewhere.
Yeah.
I went on to ask ChatGPT, like, could you buy a wardrobe? Like for my daughter, here are the brands she likes. Like, could you do this? It was terrible. Like so bad. Like it gave me like a onesie for a baby. Like it was like impossible. Like I will never do it again, you know? And so it's like, well, there is so much work to be done. I think the question is, do we know exactly what that work is? Is that work constantly changing? Probably at this moment in time. And that is a big question mark of like, how do brands prepare for that? Are bots really going to shop for us? Like we think yes, but like when and how? So like, yeah, we need to think about it. But like, what does that look like?
Don't know what the solution is. Yeah.
That's a great answer. I'm skeptical that bots are shopping for me in the next 5 years. I'll put it like I buy 5 things of clothes a year and...
But maybe they won't shop for clothes for you. Maybe it'll be something else.
Okay. Maybe. Yeah. The airplane ticket. That's true. Yeah. I'll take the airplane ticket. Where can people find you?
I'm on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Amazing insights. Great story.
Thanks
really
for having
appreciate
me.
everything you had to say. Thank you.
Yeah, this is great.
Great to meet you both.